beep, 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 beep. Back at it like a bad habit. Back at it like a crack addict. Nah. Okay. Game theory. Kicking it with Professor Jang. It is a lecture. Boom. It is educational for the most part. It's an educational reaction. Right? The law of escalation. How things are escalating as per wars. And y'all know the current hot most example is the Iran and US war, right? Yeah, continuing with that. Let's do it.
Sorry. When you do anything, you have to worry about certain factors, okay? You have to worry about troop morale.
Troop morale.
Your soldiers have to believe that they are fighting for a good cause, okay?
Good.
You have to worry about public opinion. You have to make sure that the world is on your side. You have to worry about politics, political will. You have to make sure the people are unified, and you have to worry about enemy morale.
Agenda.
You don't want to piss off your enemy so much that they go into an extreme, they jump the escalation ladder to extreme beyond your control. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay? So as you can see, war is extremely complicated. It's not just about weaponry. It's not just about resources. It's ultimately about controlling the narrative, controlling the political landscape. Okay? Marshaling the resources in a proper way that is strategically beneficial. All right?
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. So,
all right, let's lock in.
yeah, so we just answered two questions. Will the United States use ground troops? Yes, it will, because Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Israel will work together to force a ground invasion, even though the United States doesn't want to do so. But unfortunately, the United States doesn't have a clear, coherent strategy. It's passive. Therefore, it can be manipulated into sending a ground invasion, okay? And the second question is, will Israel and the United States...
And here's another question. Who will be the one to manipulate the U.S. to send the ground troops? Israel?
Use nuclear weapons? And the answer is no, because it's not in their best interest to use nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Okay? Israel wants the United States to lose this war. And so that means a long war that destroys the American political will to fight any more foreign wars. If America loses, Israel becomes the dominant power in the Middle East. Okay? And so the last question is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we'll answer that next class on Thursday.
Cool.
Any questions?
Let's hear them.
Will Americans take over Iran like what they did to Venezuela? Like they captured their president?
Okay. Look, the strategy in the beginning was to do a Venezuela in Iran. Meaning you go in, you kill the leader, a new leader emerges, negotiate with you, and surrender to you because you're too powerful. Okay? But Venezuela and Iran are two very different countries. The Venezuelan elite is very pro-American, meaning that their wealth, their children, their family is stored in America. Therefore, the Venezuelan elite have a vested interest in negotiating a deal with America to protect their own interests.
Okay, that makes sense.
But for 40 plus years, America has sanctioned the Iranian elite. And Iran has become poor and angry and disgruntled because of that. Therefore, they have 40 plus years, America has sanctioned a vested interest in negotiating a deal with America to protect their own interests. But for 40 plus years, America has sanctioned the Iranian elite. And Iran has become poor and angry and disgruntled because of that. Therefore, they lose nothing by fighting you. Okay? So even though you've killed the supreme leader...
So they've been had this chip on their shoulder. You know what I'm saying? They've been had this reason to just like... You know what I'm saying? Hop in your territory and just turn into killing machines. You know what I'm saying? Just destroy everything. You feel me? It's just been that way. 40. You said 4 decades, Professor?
You've killed many of their leaders, in fact. The elite themselves are unified in opposing you. Okay, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does.
Or like they must destroy Iran. But I think this is like a little bit confusing because I think US know that this war is really highly risk and it can potentially even like destroy the whole systems. So why US risk the risk of like whole system collapsing to like control the oil that Iran had?
Okay.
I think it's because of you know the power that it's gonna pose for the US. You know what I'm saying? It gives them the new like a new layer within their garment of power. You know what I'm saying? Some like another like a different territory in the world that they have control over. And that Strait of Hormuz, man, having, you know, that oil resource going on over there. It's like the connection, right, that the rest of the world also has with that Strait of Hormuz. The grip of the US becomes even more intense. You know what I'm saying? They have that grip now with the glove of Thanos, though. You know what I mean? I don't know if that, that's what I'm guessing. You feel me? Let's see what it is, though.
All right. So this is the key question that everyone's arguing about. Quite honestly, we're going to argue this for the rest of eternity, okay? We're going to argue this for eternity because like no one knows. And there's never going to be a clear answer. In fact, there are multiple possibilities, okay? What I'm going to do today is offer you the most simple explanation. In the next class, I will offer you a much more complicated explanation, okay? The simple explanation is this. Again, this goes back to military doctrine. How the United States military works, okay? And the military doctrine is prevent the heartland from arising, right? So the United States is here. This is Europe. This is Russia. This is Iran, India, China, Japan. This is Middle East.
Damn, why you right? Oh my God.
And this is Africa. All right. So the American military doctrine is this. The greatest threat to American power is the heartland unifying.
The heartland unifying.
Why? Because if the heartland unifies, it can trade by itself through railways.
Oh, and not involve America. Like, everything would just like be here nearby, right?
But America is primarily a naval power. Therefore, it requires people to trade by sea.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And so its strategy is to make sure there's never any cohesion in the heartland. Either by making sure that no great power arises in the heartland. And that's why America went to war in World War I and World War II, because there's a great fear that...
Oh, I feel like maybe this is where the saying divide and conquer comes from, right? Boom. No? Divide and conquer, because you keeping the people within the heartlands, or you keeping the collectives within the heartlands just like separate by planting whatever, or like it could be however strategy, but I'm trying to just see I'm trying to clarify that whole logic, right? So that the lack of cohesion, so that there's no unity amongst that whole collective. You know what I mean? So, you know, you might even go towards lengths of making those parties involved within the heartlands like enemies of one another, right? That actually kind of just proves the power that America has, you know what I'm saying? Because for it to have successfully done this, you know, in the past, like, that's crazy. And you all the way over there, bruh. That side over there, far away. But you got, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, America been powerful. I'm not gonna lie too at the same time. Oh man, like I'm already kind of imagining, you know, a world where there's like different power. Not like specifically like which power, like what empire be in power. I'm talking about the ultimate power. You feel me? But just something other than the U.S. You feel me? I don't know.
That Germany would conquer the world, or Europe and Asia, and create the heartland. Okay. Therefore, America had to stop Germany from rising. So you either make sure no great power arises, or you create so much conflict that they're always fighting each other.
And they always fight each other. Boom. Create enemies out of like siblings, right? Make sure these siblings become enemies of one another. Or make sure people of the same team are enemies to one another. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, yo, check it out, right? This right here, like, yo, how can I put it? When we talking about sexual energies, you see this clearly. You know what I'm saying? It's obvious. It's been apparent. It's been that potent as like energy since the dawn of time. You know what I'm saying? Where a tight group of mans can be separated over some pussy. You know what I'm saying? A tight group of mans, like some random chick that just pulled up and came and divided everybody against one another, dog, off of just like her being everybody ball and shit. You know what I'm saying? Being passed around and you know what I'm saying? She came from wherever she came from. You feel me? We've been together like maybe for an extended amount of time, and she just like been around for just temporarily, bruh. You know what I'm saying? And yo, I'm disappointed to admit the fact that right there has had 100% success rate in terms of doing what it's supposed to do, which is divide, right? When it comes to pussy, come on.
That used to work before, okay? Now there's a problem. The problem is the BRICS nations, Russia, Iran, and China are coming together. And if they come together, guys, that's a major piece of the heartland. And everyone else, Europe, Middle East, Africa, India would probably follow, okay?
Of course.
Because it is easier to trade in the heartland than it is to trade with America, especially with the US dollar declining, right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, the United States has no choice but to fight this war, because that's their entire strategy to maintain hegemony in the world, to prevent the heartland from unifying.
That's another speculation.
All right? Does that make sense? Because like once you destroy Iran, the heartland fractures. There's no way that they can now trade together anymore. They're still reliant on American maritime routes, okay?
And I feel like, like leaders like Gaddafi and those kind of leaders, right, that arose to leaders like that wanted to create this cohesion that America is trying to avoid the heartlands, creating. That makes sense.
Because maintains is still the hegemon because it controls world trade. Whoever controls world trade controls the world. Whoever controls the heartland controls world trade. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? But this is just one explanation. There's actually other explanations, and I'll go into a more complicated explanation next class.
Right.
Any more questions? Yep.
Whoever controls the world trade controls the hegemony. And whoever controls... Okay.
So you mentioned Saudi Arabia and how it wants to see the down...
No, whoever controls the world trade controls the hegemony, and whatever controls the heartlands controls the world trade. Okay, I got it. Y'all thought I ain't even got it. Y'all thought I ain't even had it. I got it, right?
Downfall of both the U.S. and Iran.
You want to see the downfall of Israel, U.S., and Iran.
And to me that sounds like a pretty big goal. And how would they possibly use their strategy to achieve that goal? Or
it's
how
pretty
would it
much
possibly
ambitious
be for Saudi Arabia?
Okay. All right. So it's very confusing to people why Saudi Arabia is actually against Iran, okay? But actually, if you go back and look at their history, they have major conflicts with each other. All right, so let's go over some of their conflicts. All right, so Saudi Arabia, Iran. The first major conflict is that Iran is a theocracy and Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. A theocracy just means that you're ruled by clerics who represent God. And a monarchy is a king who represents God. And for the Iranians, that is blasphemy, that's heresy, that's against the religion, okay? So Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. Saudi Arabia sees Iran as a threat and trying to induce a revolution within Saudi Arabia. Iran sees Saudi Arabia as blasphemous, okay? And it's a huge issue because Saudi Arabia is the home of Mecca, Medina, the two holiest sites in the Islamic world. Okay? Second issue is that Saudi Arabia is Sunni, and Shia is, and Iran is Shia. So these are two different sects of the same religion, but it's like Protestants and Catholics. They just hate each other. Okay. Okay. And the last thing is that Iran is anti-U.S. and Shia and Saudi Arabia is pro-U.S. What this means is that Saudi Arabia has military bases, American military bases, inside of the Holy Land. And for the Iranians, that is the worst crime, right? Because it's infidels who are protecting the Holy Land. Infidels are not allowed in the Holy Land, right? If you're not a Muslim, you're not allowed to go to Mecca, all right? All right, so Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. Saudi Arabia has a huge problem in that it is an oil economy. Most of its GDP comes from oil exports. And for the longest time, it was trying to build a knowledge economy. It was trying to build tourism. It was trying to promote games, okay? Does not work. So if you're Saudi Arabia and you see the future, it's a pretty dismal future because eventually your oil is going to run out. Eventually people are going to switch to electrical vehicles, digitalization, which means that oil is no longer so important, okay? So what you need to do is, if you're able to control the Middle East, right? So where you get your money now is from trade access, the Strait of Hormuz. That's a viable future. If you just sit back and wait, eventually your nation is going to run out of oil and therefore it's going to cease to exist.